Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, excuse the mess. I tend to get into things and just kind of let it go, but I'm here to talk about the STI, aka the Nighthawk. That's kind of the name it's been given for this channel, and it's kind of been radio silent, so there's a lot to cover, so keep that in mind. There's a bunch of parts here that are leftovers from the entire build. I'm here to basically tell you guys that the car is done. It's ready, it runs. It's still on a base tune, so I don't have like an actual number, because I know I set like a horsepower goal, but I don't really have the tune yet, so I'm still waiting for that. But everything's good. I'm actually really happy with the end result, considering it was all basically thrown together, not only by me, but like with a lot of used Facebook parts. It surprisingly came out really well. So everything just looks really like good and like nice quality. There's no eBay like knockoff stuff. Like I got like authentic parts, so this car should be great when it comes to the tune. I'll probably go over, or I'll probably put a link for all the parts that I have available if you guys are interested through my Facebook or something. But everything that's on my car obviously is there to stay. I have one or two things that I still need to put on. Well, one's right here. I'll maybe tease it to you guys. The other one is coming in the mail. I'll just give it away once I'm actually over there in the engine bay, but I just want to make a proper introduction of what it is I've been up to actually. So yeah, all this right here that you're seeing in this box, that is all available. There's filters, there's part of an intake box. What else could I even go over with, I guess a fuel pump, a pitch mount stop, TGVs, OEM rails, just like a bunch of like random stuff. Like I said, I'll include all that for you guys to look over. But in terms of my little teaser here before I step over to the engine bay, there you guys go. Alright, for the most part, I got this area cleared off. This is where I spent a lot of my nights with all my tools laid out and energy drinks knocked over, working away at the STI, but it's for the most part cleared up. I still have a little bit more to take off here, but sorry about the mess, Luna. I will get around to this, don't worry, but all of that led me here, so where do I even begin? If you're new to the channel, I guess the biggest thing to go over is the turbo. So before I made a video going over my 2.5 Blausch, that was kind of like, I don't know, I was kind of hesitant on how much it could push. I'm sure it could have got me to 400, but it was still kind of like right there. So I ended up switching it over to 3.5, and believe it or not, I bought that for cheaper than what I paid for the 2.5. So it essentially paid for itself just to swap them over. So that's kind of why I did it. So it's rated for 580. I'm not going to take it to that extent, but 450 is probably where I'm going to take this beast to, as long as the internals can handle it. So if you're new, I have forged pistons with stock rods, so that's kind of the reason why I'm like, I overbuilt this in a sense. Like with everything that's going on here, it could easily probably push me to 5, but I'm going to be carrying it to 450. With the turbo, you can kind of see there's no internal wastegate up here anymore. It's because I have a bracket closing it shut, and I am now running the Turbo Smart Hypergate 45 wastegate on the green speed up pipe. So there is going to be some flutter. It's going to be pretty wild, and that 3-bolt up pipe is connected to my header, which is, I guess the whole car I should say, is Tomei from that up pipe. You know, like it's just Tomei equal-length headers, Tomei catalyst downpipe, and then Tomei exhaust out. So it does get pretty rowdy. It's more of like a raspy, like RX-7 type noise. I don't know how to explain it. I'm sure there's gonna be some sound clips eventually for you guys to hear, but it can get pretty nasty. There's no rumble though, so sorry about that. But with that 3.5 Blausch, it carries it over to a 3-inch inlet, so that was fun. But I also got this Cob Intake on, and it's, you know, it's short ram essentially, if you want to call it that, but it's 3-inch all the way across. I couldn't run the AEM one anymore because of this piping here for my front mount. It went through that hole, but as you can see, there was just nowhere for it to go. So yeah, I had to switch it over. So I traded intakes, so it didn't cost me anything. But this is the 3.5 3.5 inch core from Purin, like their whole front mount intercooler kit and stuff. I do, since I'm down here, have, if it'll focus, there's an IAG oil pan with the windage tray and pickup, everything like down below, so that's a good supporting mod. And then the front mount being here is also really beneficial for the turbo. Even with the front mount, like, it surprisingly clears this Mishimoto like oil cooler, which is hooked up, by the way. It's honestly pretty tight in there, but even with this AC out and everything, like you can kind of see, I stripped that. It looks good, but essentially from that front mount intercooler piping, you can see I went speed density, so I'm able to run this blow off valve safely. It should be good. It's a dual port by TurboSmart. I've had one in the past, but I don't know, I felt like this was kind of the time to do it since speed density kind of helps with blow off valves and stuff. And then right here is the Cob 4-bar. So that was a very easy install, but it's little things like these two that I just didn't know going in until my tuner told me about it. So yeah, that's basically up here. But oh, I guess I should talk about the regulator. That's my Aeromotive fuel pressure regulator. That's going to the rails. So this is the IAG TGV deletes along with the rails. They're both gold. They're discontinued, so it's kind of nice having. And they're sitting on phonetic spacers, I think they're called. So it pushes the whole manifold up to make this a little bit easier and better, you know, intake, I don't know, temperatures, I guess. But yeah, and then between that are FIC 1200cc injectors. So like I said, this car could push more, but it is what it is. I'm not gonna go crazy on it. Along with my fuel is an AEM 340 fuel pump. This is hardwired in. I took out the secondary air pump. These are little things I kind of told myself I was gonna do, and I ended up doing it. So it looks good. Honestly, it makes the car a little bit lighter, and with that whole thing being gone, I also got rid of that little harness that sits in here that makes it look really nasty. I hated that little bundle of harnesses, but strut bars. So front and rear. I'm really excited to honestly get this car tuned so I can see how it feels around corners and everything. But there's that. This right here, I was getting a lot of, not on YouTube, but just like from people I was working with and stuff, they were telling me like that's a really bad mod to have, is the lightweight pulleys. So I had it for a bit. I didn't drive it for too long like this, but everyone's telling me the same thing. You know, I'm not going to argue with people, especially the people that built this engine. They told me to take it off. So I'm going to be getting the ATI super dampener. So that's coming in the mail. The wire tucking, that's one of the biggest things too for me, was getting everything nice and presentable. So you can see the turbo now. That's like a huge bonus to me, is being able to see the turbo, especially because I paid money for it. I want people to know I'm not stock over here. And the AOS goes underneath here. I did put like some kind of a heat shield or whatever you want to call it, like wrap, so it doesn't burn off of this. The Grimspeed EBS, or EBCS, my bad. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of things here that like are from the last time I showed you guys this car, but it's worth going over in case you are new. BC coilovers and stuff. Yeah, this car came a long way, and honestly it was quite a headache, but in the end I'm really happy, and I'm really excited to see exactly where it'll push me. So hopefully 450. And then I guess one thing to cover was I was kind of nervous at first because I had everything on. I went for a couple drives on a bass tune. It was making like a nice turbo whistle noises out the exhaust, but then I found out I had my fuel pressure regulator hooked up wrong to where the feed and the return were swapped. I drove it around a few times before my tuner came over and saw it and pointed it out. So then he fixed it, but then like the car wasn't going to boost for the tune. So I was really nervous I did some kind of damage to the turbo. We couldn't tune it that day, and I was just troubleshooting. I mean, I was going everywhere, just trying to find some kind of leak. The couplers were all fine. Just anything. I was like really trying to find something, but it wasn't until I swapped intakes is what fixed my problem. So anyone has seen my last intake, it was the AEM one. That was like, it went to like a smaller diameter. I was using a rubber fitting right between here, and it sat inside this inlet. And so when I was clamping it on, since they're both rubber, it kept squeezing, like pinching like this, and so that was creating leaks. But now that I have this one and I have a metal fitting in here, it's obviously, you can't bend it, so when you clamp it on, it actually holds it. So when I went on a drive the other day to go get a smoke test for this car, I went up the highway ramp and then it just all of a sudden went to boost, and it freaked me out because I was not expecting it. And so yeah, that's a good update, I guess. I was really devastated because I thought, like I said, I thought I did something to the turbo, but I ended up actually taking off the downpipe and like using a flathead to like pry it off, just to like get my hand and like try to test the turbine wheel to see if it was like shaking or anything, like for shaft play. It wasn't. And then while I was switching these out, and I was still trying to troubleshoot the turbo issues, I actually stuck my entire arm in this inlet all the way down and just barely was able to get my like the tip of my finger on the turbine wheel and like try to shake it, and it was all fine. So that's why I was just like, okay, the turbo's good, so it must be something else. And that same night I drove it with the new intake in it. That was it. So yeah, a lot of headaches, but it's here, it's ready. So I'm excited to share with you guys the overall cost and, you know, the tunes and stuff, like every little thing. I want to make content for this car again. So tell me how you feel, if it kind of lived up to everything I said. I believe it did. Honestly, I did a handful of things. I think I actually kind of overbuilt it in a sense, but anything else you guys can think of that's good for this car, let me know. Like I said, I'm doing the pulley and stuff, so I'm trying to do every little supporting mod. So cylinder 4 from the Dom, what do you call it, the coolant mod, I have that on this car too, and the IAG oil pickup upgrade and oil pan, windage tray, and all that good stuff. So for the most part, I think I did a pretty good job not skipping anything or cutting corners. But leave your thoughts below. I'd like to hear them, guys. For now, that's it. Have a good rest of your day, and keep an eye out on the channel for more. Peace.